All right, it's on. So for this first video, I wanted to do a presentation of the community challenge, as we called it, some of us anyway. So the idea started on the Steam forums and Turtle. Had this idea to, ask everyone to post a build, and then we would, each of us willing, would start a campaign and use everyone else's build and his own. So, that's the main idea anyway. And then I made a page on the wiki with all the builds everyone came up with. So in total, as you can see, we have 16 of them, which is just enough to fill the formation for the peasant militia region. So that's a good number. And then we have, of course, secondary builds, but we won't, I guess, be using those since we already have enough. So yes, that's the idea. And yes, everyone has had the freedom to do as they wished. So of course we have very unique builds there. And what I want to do with this first video before jumping in and starting the campaign itself is just to do a review of everything we have and see what we can expect for each build, see weaknesses, maybe the strengths, and try to figure out how we will build a team, because of course it's not always very harmonious. Each person proposed something he liked, but we'll see that maybe we are lacking some builds and having too many of some. But that's the fun of it, trying to do with what we came up with in the end. So of course the list is still open. If you want, you can still add your own build, post in the thread and add your own. But I mean, I'll be going with these, I think, and you'll get links of both pages in the description of the video I'll post. So let's start the front line and then the back line. So we'll just go one by one. So this is the first one. This is Turtle on ID. So it is a tank. So a defensive unit using Shield Expert, of course. We have it here. And actually in this run we have a few of them, so it's good. I think you absolutely need at least one of these. I know people who just go without any Shield Expert, and you can do that, but I think for certain fights it will be quite risky, because these basically they can just stay as long as they want and either avoid hits altogether, or just when they need it, take them and resist them with Indomitable, which reduces incoming damage. So let's try and see what the build is about. So no melee skill, of course. This is a taunt tank. So taunt, it's let's say it's a perk that some really like, or at least really use, or try to use and pick, and other players really don't like and find absolutely useless. So on this matter, I've had the opportunity to try it. I've used it when I first started playing Battle Brothers, and I thought it was quite decent. And since Turtle posted this build, I picked it again in my previous campaign just to try it and see. And my opinion on this perk is it's quite good. It doesn't always work for various reasons that we may be able to see later on, but I do think it really has a reason to be in this build, tank build. I mean, and anyway, I mean, it's not like you need so many perks, so it's I think it does deserve a spot in the perk choice. So it's a classic one, a classic build. I would probably build it the same. So it has Colossus. I don't think Colossus is needed. I think you can invest enough in HP that you don't need it, but it's done in the list, and I don't think it's optional, so we'll get it. I don't think it's mandatory, because you have Indomitable when we really need not to take HP damage. For example, when we are facing daggers and so on, or crossbows. But it's always good to have, because you never know. Sometimes you get it when you least expect it, and then you may avoid injuries, especially if you don't have fatigue for Indomitable. But what leads me to say that is that we have these two perks here, Adrenaline and Recover, which allows us to be under a permanent Indomitable. So that's why I think in this setup it's not really mandatory. It's helpful, but not mandatory, and I would favor other packs like Fortify Mind, of course, because losing morale is the absolute worst on your tank. But, well, if you have a good banner, you don't need it too much as well. This Pathfinder, I've picked it a lot more recently on tanks, and it's really, really great. Why? Because you can use it with Adrenaline to great effects. So let's say you're fighting goblins, and then you have a shaman and an overseer in the back. So they can do as they please, because they are hard to shoot from a distance. And, well, other goblins are, in front, so they're blocking the way to them. But what you can do with Adrenaline and Pathfinder is just go straight to them with a tank. And usually goblins, they switch to ranged weapons, throwing weapons. So there is no zone of control. And you can do, as soon as the first turn, just you wait turn, and then at the end of the turn, you go, and then activate Adrenaline, and on the turn 2, the beginning of the turn, you can lock down the Overseer, the Shaman, and other targets too. So I think it's, for me now, it's a mandatory perk. And why Pathfinder? Because, well, you might fight goblins on a even field, and it's fine you can do this trick without it. But if you're in a mountain or forest, well, in that case, you will need it to do this trick. For the rest, I think it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's only that it's a nimble build, but he said you could take Battleforge instead if you need to. So that's a very good one, very reliable build, and it's great to have it. Now moving on is Unlucky Noob's Dagger. So I don't build these very often, because they do very well against certain types of enemies, but they do absolutely horrible against others. So you may know that daggers, they have reduced damage against all skeletons. So, and, well, in the Black Monoliths, you meet many of them. So using such a character, if you really want to be competitive in the Black Monoliths, it's not really good. That said, this game isn't all about the Black Monolith or the Goblin City or the Kraken, etc. So Why deprive yourself of an interesting build that otherwise can do many things that others don't? So the idea behind this build is to use puncture mostly and go through armor, so it doesn't have to strip enemies' armor before starting to damage them and maybe kill them in the same turn. And thanks to the mastery, we can attack three times a turn. So yes, that's a Rondel dagger. It's an average of 30 damage. So if I recall, so you can pretty much kill anything but orcs, I think, orc warriors in one turn on average. Chosen, I think, have 120 HP, so you can definitely kill one in one turn. Of course, the drawback of this build is that Puncture is a very fatigue-intensive skill. It's 20, I think, with Mastery, the cost. And it has reduced each chance, so it's difficult to use. Okay, so there is one thing that is concerning me here is that I don't see Backstabber in here, and I don't understand why. Okay, so anyway, it seems that rotation is optional. So I think I think I will pick Backstabber instead because I mean the reduced hit chance is huge. It's minus 15%, and missing a skill that costs 20 fatigue is it's really a huge cost, opportunity cost. So you want to maximize hit chance and rotation. Well, I don't think it's good there. If you are spamming punctures, you don't have the fatigue to use it frequently. Oh, of course, you don't always want to use it. It's a good skill if you want to, if you are in trouble and need to save someone. So you're not. It's like save someone's situation. Then it's very useful. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be picked even on fatigue intensive builds, but I think it can be dispensed with on this build, which is frontliner, and I would probably use rotation more on backliners because they usually can, they don't take so many hits, though, so they can off tank better than other characters usually. Okay, so apart from that, yes, we have Shield Expert. Why? Because Puncture doesn't benefit from double grip, or is it duelist? I don't remember. No, duelist has no effect anyway because it's going through armor. So yes, it doesn't benefit from double grip. So you want a shield anyway. So it's good because at the same time it's a damage build with Puncture against the certain enemies, not all of them. Those who have many HP, it's still difficult to use that to great effects because you will deplete all your fatigue to kill someone. But well, that's mostly orc warriors. But as you can see, these two perks here, Crippling Strikes and Executioner, they are here to make sure that you can go through huge HP pool faster. And I would have basically this build is exactly how I would have done it, except maybe I wouldn't have picked Pathfinder. And Backstabber for me is absolutely mandatory in this build. And what else? I guess let's open up. Oh yes, I have it actually. So yeah, dagger. So Okay, I think it's the same. Oh yes, Killing Frenzy. I don't understand why there is no Killing Frenzy on this build. I understand no Berserk, but no Killing Frenzy is quite astonishing. But I guess he's playing it a bit more defensive. Because Killing Frenzy really helps, using maybe one less puncture to kill a target, which will save you a ton of fatigue. So really, I just don't understand why it's not being picked here. I mean, Pathfinder is great, but I don't think it's necessary to pick it on everyone. And this dagger assassin, it doesn't really need to be moving all the time. So he's a tank. So I don't necessarily agree with this, but it's fine anyway. It's mostly what I would have done myself. Okay, so moving on, the third one is the one I prefer among all the proposed builds. I think it's a very innovative and an interesting one, and I don't think anyone ever did it, or maybe just a few players. So I'm really eager to try it. There's a lot of text, so it comes with, let's say, instructions on how to use because it's unconventional. And the idea behind it is to go with a frontliner that is initiative, which is not very usual. Because, yes, initiative, it's not a very well liked attribute at all. So usually people avoid it, But this one is trying to make use of it and make use of all the perks that are using initiative to function. So as you can see, since it's a initiative build, it's using dodge over one, which needs that you act first, and relentless, which reduces the initiative penalty induced by getting fatigued, so only by 50%, which will of course help with maintaining initiative, turn initiative, and be sure to be able to overwhelm targets that you do not kill. So of course the problem, it's a problem that is common with all initiative builds. The first one is that it needs many perks to function. So as you can see, if you raise initiative but don't pick relentless, you will tire out and lose your turn initiative at one point or another because enemies, well, most of them, they recover more fatigue per turn than you. And while the other problem is that they can start with very high initiative. So goblins, they are very hard to go before, and well, you need that to make up for that. And of course, you need not only a high starting initiative, which he of course recommends backgrounds with high initiative, and you need to invest heavily in it. So here I see he recommended, Sujak recommended, okay, so 120 is a starting, it's a suggestion. So yes, mostly thieves, gamblers, and rat catchers, they can get this kind of initiative, starting initiative. Other backgrounds, I don't think it's possible unless you have the quick traits, which gives you plus 10 to initiative. No, he said that you should stop raising initiative at one point. I actually tested a Fencer build with max initiative, max melee defense, and dodge and relentless, and it adds amazing melee defense. It was something like more than 60, and with relentless it was staying around that, maybe with I don't know, even close to full fatigue. It was very high still. So I'm thinking that not limiting yourself on raising initiative for such builds is not a bad idea. Of course, melee defense is straight better, but as you know, dodge also raises range defense, which will be useful in some fights. So we'll see on that. And what else can I say about it? Well, Pathfinder, it's very good, of course, with dodge and initiative builds because it helps you save fatigue and so initiative. So it's always a great perk for dodge builds. Backstabber, I really, really appreciate it. I think it's undervalued because it can give you at least most of the time plus 5% hit chance, which is better than gifted, of course. And if you get 10% better than gifted, I mean just if you get if you compare to the plus 3. Of course, gifted gives you let's say 3 stats worth raising, so it's more than that. But if you with 2 people surrounding, or 3 if you want, it's plus 10%, and then I think it's much more valuable than gifted because I value each chance really high. I think missing it is the worst that can happen because you're basically losing fatigue and doing nothing, and the enemy is still there. So I really highly value each chance, and of course all perks that improve accuracy. So everything else is standard. I think Underdog is really needed here because it's a frontliner and it will be surrounded, of course. So the interesting thing here is Overwhelm, which is a bit unusual, and there I think it will be good because we have a swing, an area of effect attack. So we will be able to apply it to many enemies. Of course, Overwhelm doesn't work when you just kill units, and so it's only useful if you can't outright kill enemies. Otherwise, well, it's useless. But we'll see how often it's useful. That's something I want to see for myself using this build. And last is Killing Frenzy, which is optional. So I think it will definitely help. It's not just a debuffer. It's also a damage dealer. So why not Killing Frenzy? And what else could we get besides this? It's true there various different choices we could take, but I think it's a fair one, and I want to try it with Killing Frenzy. If I had to build something similar, I would probably do it like this, I think. All right, and moving on now is a polearm. That is a heavy polearm, so Battleforged and Brawny. What's specific about it? Oh, okay, it's enough tank, so it has rotation to do the job, and it has also quick hands, as it not? No quick hands. Oh, okay, yes, I now remember. It was removed because it doesn't work with shields anymore. So the idea is to still carry a shield and swap it out when we rotate something and do the off-tanking role. So I really like it. I think it's a decent and solid build, and which helps the team. And when it's not defending, it's just doing good damage with the usual perks, Berserk and Killing Frenzy. So yes, because of that, he picked Underdog. So I guess it can really be used offensively. I mean, I wouldn't be shy of rotating someone who has attacked and just go right into the front line and with my polearm attack a protected back line, like when you're fighting legionaries or honor guards. So I could probably use it like this. And he recommended to increase melee defense. So yes, I would probably. It's a really good idea and solid build. I like it, and the perk selection is just fine. And you have a few options. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That's 9. So you can choose one perk among those. And what would it be actually? Which advantage is interesting. You can use a war sight too. I really like adrenaline too. It's fairly decent there, and it will be useful against goblins, for example, which you can definitely benefit from rushing. Colossus, all fair optional picks. Okay, now is Lone Wolf from Prison Edge, and it's an Axeman. So yes, it's a popular choice for Lone Wolf because when you're isolated like this, you can get surrounded by many enemies, and then you can use Round Swing, which targets up to 6 targets. So it's the usual choice for Lone Wolf. So actually, this one build is the one I'm most worried about, because I've been using Lone Wolves a lot in my not in my recent campaigns, but before the DLCs, and there are many problems going with them. And the first one is that since you're getting surrounded by enemies, you have to run a lot of moral checks, and it's very easy to fail them because you're usually not in sight of the banner. And even with great resolve, it's you just need to lose one check, and then it's a cascade of horrors, because you start missing your hits and failing more checks. So, and as you can see, there is of course Lone Wolf, it raises resolve, but there is no Fortified Mind in there, and there is a very high chance you will lose morale, and losing morale is absolutely crushing, because it's minus 10% to all core stats, and it's the worst that can happen. And what I fear with this build is that you will often lose moral checks, and things will go really bad, really quick. And well, in that case, he will need saving, and he won't be able to do his job basically. So no Fortified Mind, and instead Gifted, which is of course great, but I mean, it's just giving you it's giving you a few stats that you may lose with a loss in morale when you break or waver. So I really don't see the point of Gifted here. It's I think it's a wasted sorry, but it's on a Lone Wolf you can afford to use that. You need resolve more than everything, and after that you need defense. And that is the second weakness of this build, I think, is that it doesn't have reach advantage on a character that is supposed to be using Round Swing. I just can't understand it. It's puzzling, I mean, to say the least. So we have Pathfinder instead, which is, of course, it's like Gifted, it's great, but on a Lone Wolf, I mean, no. But okay, we are not here to bash other builds. We will accept and build it this way if we ever find the recruit for it, because it has really high requirements, and he's actually proposing that we use this, recommending that we use this Edge Knights or Sword Master backgrounds which are not only hard to find but are very costly. And myself, I want to use the Peasant Militia origin to test all builds, so I'm not sure I will ever find someone that is good enough to make it for this build. That's not only needs very high stats, but also, yes, talents in the right places. It's basically only I think you can only consistently get such good recruits with the Lone Wolf origin, and that's what James made, another player who participates in the challenge. So yes, everything else is okay to me. I mean, yes, it's everything else is fine. It's just a 2-packs and no 45 man and no reach advantage. I mean, you could go with maybe leaving off one of these between reach advantage at 45 mines, but that would be risky. But if I was to do that, I would probably take adrenaline and indomitable, to make sure at least that I don't get wrecked when a morale loss happens. And you have no safety net there. So if you ever fail and if you start losing morale and not hitting and not killing enemies, which can really happen when you're fighting, I don't know, Orc Warriors or Chosen, it will just die. Basically, it's too risky, I think. Well, anyway, moving on. Now this is a build I really like. I think it's really strong. It's straightforward, but really, that's I think that's something I would build myself. So the idea behind this is to use cleavers, which, in my opinion, is the best mastery you can get since the DLCs. For yes, because there are so many cleavers to choose from, and cleavers have unique abilities, and like Decapitate, which is just awesome. And then there's a Whip, which is also awesome and is basically a distance, a ranged stun. So it's a strong build. I don't have much to say on it, but that's 100 cleaver is recommended, and 200 cleaver is possible. And I think I will use a 200 cleaver instead, because there is a named one that is guaranteed, and so that's the only build in the whole challenge that is using cleavers. So I think I will pick 200 cleavers. The backgrounds, yes, so you need good backgrounds with lots of fatigue, preferably, of course, and standards. So Executioner, why not? I don't think it's mandatory, but I'm not disliking it either, so why not? Quick hands, yes, if you want. So what is this missing? Oh, okay, Battlefront. Do I have one myself? I don't think so. Sword, shield. Okay, no. I don't think it's missing anything. It's a strong basis. Rotation is always good. Oh, okay. Brony as optional. I don't think it's optional, especially if you want fatigue. But maybe intends to go with medium armor instead of heavy, but no Battleforge. Doesn't make sense. But then, okay. Anyway, we have some room to play with perks. I think Gifted can be good because it's probable that we won't have much defense since we are not using nimble build and we can't pick on dodge. So maybe gifted will be required to get the defense to reasonable amounts. We'll see. If he's talented in melee defense, maybe we won't need to. Okay, so next is a fencer from Ozymandias. So, okay, this is, well, I think fencer, I'm really not impressed with fencer. I've not been impressed with fencers. But why not? I mean, we can, if we find someone who's talented in initiative and melee skill and ideally melee defense, we can do that. Though we already have Sujak for that, so maybe we'll build it as a second initiative character. So here there's footwork, which I don't really like on this character because if he's using lunge a lot, he won't have fatigue to use footwork as well. So I think it's not really a good choice, but I can understand why it's there. Since fencers, they like to move around and position, so okay, I accept that, even though I think it's not ideal for this type of characters. Now, moving on to the back line, we have Skate Billman, which is a defensive one, so I guess it's a bit like the heavy polearm from Seeker. What's the difference, actually? Yes, he's nimble, that one. Sorry. He's nimble, so I guess he's relying on defense a bit more than armor, and of course he has dodge, so yes, he will probably have a bit more armor than a bit more defense than Seeker builds, but he won't be using shields, will he? No, mostly weapons. So he's a bit of a weird mix between offense and defense in a way that's different from this build. Okay, ship backgrounds, right? Well, it's mostly about melee skill, of course. It's at its core, it's a Billman, so that makes sense. And the perk choices, okay, gifted, why not? Quick hands and rotation, of course. Okay, no, it's a solid build, and it will do well, I think. Okay, so now is mine. So the idea behind this build is to use both melee skill and range skill, and melee weapon and range weapon, which many call a hybrid build. So that's the whole idea. And with Polearm Mastery, which makes all attacks from polearms cost 5 AP, you can use the remaining 4 APs to use a range shot. So the only requirement about this build is you have potential in both skills, because otherwise you can't really make good use of it. Even though you can raise melee skill with Backstabber, Backstabber, that one. And well, gifted here, I think it's the best case for gifted, because raising its change, as I said, is I think very valuable. And with gifted here, you can raise your change for both melee skill and range skill. So it's in my opinion, it's the most optimal way to use gifted on that sort of build. The rest is a standard for a build of this type, which in itself I don't think is so usual. Some people swear by hybrids, some people just hate them, but one great advantage they have is that they can fight as well in the night as in the day, and they can also fight skeletons with as much efficiency as they would other types of enemies, which cannot be said for pure bowmen or crossbowmen, which we see less and less, but still. So what else? So yes, the idea is to maximize damage potential, which is why I put Executioner as an optional perk to further increase your damage against wounded targets with a lot of HP, like barbarians or orcs. And of course, if you are huge, it helps even more. The rest, I think, is pretty standard. I think you do need recover because, well, I guess it depends, because I've been experimenting with archers and without recover, and I've been able to go by with no problems without using recover, even in the Goblin City. So I'm thinking that maybe it could be optional, but the thing is, you could also want to use wall sites, and in that case you will spend a lot of fatigue, and it's very probable you will need to recover at one point. So yes, I still think it's a really strong pick, and probably worth putting as mandatory. And everything else is optional, but recommended for Pathfinder, for example. Okay. Oh yes, one last thing I want to say is that you can either go with Nimble and or Brawny. So I want to explain a bit on that, because it may not be very how do I say make sense. So the idea behind Nimble is that you can take it and be safe from a few hits without having to invest heavily into HP or defense. So that's why Nimble is so good for the backline. That said, if you really want to raise fatigue and just not care at all about HP and defense, you could put everything of your remaining points into fatigue and just go with heavy armor and pick Brawny instead. Or what you could do is pick both. It's a possible choice, and maybe not invest too much in defensive abilities, defensive attributes as well, but do it like this. For example, when you're facing enemies with 0 range capabilities, you could just go with light armor, and you will still have some protection just in case something bad happens and you take a hit from, let's say, a warrior that broke your line. And when needed, for example, against many goblin ambushers, you could switch to heavy armor, and with Brawny you wouldn't be penalized for doing so, and you wouldn't have the defense or the HP, but you would have the armor, so you would not take much damage, and you could actually tank up many range attacks. So that's the idea. Alright, now this is Trappist's Master Lancer, which is, I think, really peculiar build, because it's using many masteries. So yes, crossbow, polearm, and cleavers for whips. Crossbow, billow, battle whip. So it's interesting. So it's a bit like my build, in the sense that it's using both melee and range skill, but it's also giving up on other perks to increase versatility and utility. because well, you can with this use whips. You could also actually use whips there, but the 15% chance penalty to disarm when you don't have the mastery is quite crippling, so it's probably not a good idea to use a whip if you don't have the mastery. Though it's always a possibility, of course. So yes, okay, it has footwork, which frankly I don't think it's really needed, especially if you invest in melee skill. So you could and if you have a whip, I don't think you really need to, but why not? What else? Yes, okay, it's bags and bells for the utility. It's a decent build. No, it's Bobbin's thrower. Okay, so this is a pure thrower, so it's not. Yes. Okay. Oh, it does carry a crossbow, so it can use a crossbow, but it's not. It did not pick the mastery. So crossbow will still be an option, but not as useful because the mastery gives you additional ignoring armor damage. So yes, okay, and okay, there is no optional perks. Everything is set. So let's see. Quick hands, of course. Bags and belts. If you want to focus on throwing weapons, that's understandable. Though you don't necessarily need it if you're also carrying crossbow. But okay, it's at least it will offer also some fatigue back because it's cancelling the fatigue penalty from one-handed ranged weapons. One-handed weapons. Okay, so defense as well is covered. Footwork, yes, okay, it's your panic button. Why not? And your list for throwing weapons, of course. And overwhelm. Oh, okay. Okay, that's. I think it's a good one. You can. You won't be able to overwhelm goblins and other fast units, but you will be able to overwhelm all undead and what else? Orcs, not berserkers, maybe not youngs, but yeah, not youngs, but warriors and warlords, of course. So okay, it's a decent choice. Okay, now we have the Urbana Man, and it's this one. So I think the standard bearer is it's the one build that you can really build differently. I mean, this one is a utility build, but you can make it an offensive build with quick hands and pikes in the bags, that sort of things. Or you can make it a real tank. Well, there are many possibilities, and this one is more utility, so it will be using bags and bells and quick hands to use consumables and throwables, and of course it has rotation, so you can position your damage dealers better. Otherwise, it's okay. Battleforge, so it can do some off tanking as well, and an optional perk is Indomitable. So with this, you could potentially do some really decent off tanking if you're carrying a shield as well in your bags. Maybe it's not mentioned there, but why not? Okay, additional weapons control. Okay, I guess shields is also included in weapons. So yes, that's a really good build that I use from time to time when I get Bannerman with no melee skill. For example, monks, they usually have crappy melee skill, and so they're better suited as a whole to this take on the standard bearer. And yeah, so these are the builds as well. Okay, everything else is standard. and this is optional, and we'll see what we do with that. No, it's okay. Another hybrid. Okay, so we actually have three hybrids in the lot. That's more than I thought we would have. So this one is using throwing weapons and cleavers. Okay, so it's a duelist. Yes, that's the idea. I actually tried one of these, and it's really difficult to make good use of. But I think the better way to make use of him is to mostly use it in the backline, rather than try to stay between the backline and the front line and try to engage. I think it can just safely stay in the backline and maybe not focus on melee defense too much. So actually it's a backline build, but maybe mine was more of a frontline / backline duelist. So yes, I think the idea is more to use whips to disarm, and then with the remaining 4 AP, just throw a javelin or axe, or even yes. So there's quick hands. Okay, there's no bags and belts, so we can't really carry anything else. But I guess the setup is what? 2 throwing axes or throwing javelins, and 1 whip, probably. Yes, I would like to have a cleaver in the bag. Okay, yes, maybe throwing weapon and a cleaver. Okay, that's the way it is meant to be used, with a cleaver. So whip isn't really an option unless you drop a throwing weapon stack, and just 1 stack may not be enough. So there are optional packs. Maybe, I think among my options, I don't see bags and belts, but I really think it would help in this case. Okay, it has fast adaptation. Okay, I think it's okay-ish if you have a really low skill, but I'm not convinced. I mean, I will try to get a decent unit. I won't build. I use this build on a really bad recruit, and it's fast adaptation. It's really good if you have 60% chance or less. So 60, I think you can safely reach it, especially with throwing weapons when you're attacking at 2 tiles distance. You get what's the chance already? So it's +10 and -10 with each. No, okay, I think you get no additional chance, or do you at 2 tiles? I don't remember. Anyway, so okay, rotation. I don't see any damage related packs here. There is no Killing Frenzy and no Berserk, so that's very. I don't understand why. Okay, no Killing Frenzy and no Berserk. I don't understand why, but okay. So anyway, it's another duelist, so we probably won't build it first. Maybe third or second. Mine will go first. So what's next? Values adrenaline polearm. So okay, this is we haven't seen much of it yet, adrenaline, but it's kind of good. So okay, I think there's nothing unusual about it. It's a fairly straightforward build with all the good perks, and also it's focused on damage with Executioner. Okay, it has anticipation, so Valius was worried against range defense, I guess, which is a bit surprising given that he has Battle Forged. But okay, we can do that. Now we are almost to the end, and this is he calls Handyman because he is able to do many things, right? Yes, quickens back and bells, so he can just carry nets and I don't know. Yes, bandages, antidotes, all the likes, and just draw things and rotate members, injured members, and okay, his weapon of choice, one of either, or, so he can also carry throwing weapons in addition to these melee weapons at I guess for long axe this or polearm is probably better, and okay, animal. So okay, this is let's say a minimum requirement build which we may use. We will look for these recommended backgrounds and find someone to be our handyman. And the last main build is James Chip Pikeman. This one is interesting because the requirement is that it needs to be a cheap background. So only cripple, beggar, ratcatcher, servant, and refugee. Okay, so actually ratcatcher is not the cheapest. It costs around 100 crowns because it comes with a net, and it's actually much better than all these other what can I say, horrible backgrounds stat-wise. So maybe we'll go with the Ratcatcher, but we'll just hire those as well since they're so cheap, and maybe we can find so desired 6 stars cripple. And the perks, let's see. Well, okay, gifted, very good. Colossus, very good on this kind of backgrounds and bad recruits. Rotation, okay. Okay, this creeping star. I'm not sure why those two are there. I mean, if you get this background, why not increase its chance? And with Backstabber, for example, there's already gifted, so why not Backstabber? Especially with the pikeman, so you can choose your target, and maximize surrounding and really benefit from Backstabber. So I don't understand why it's not there. And Crippling Strikes, okay, I think it's well, maybe it will help injuring tough units faster, so why not? Executioner, I like it overall, so okay, we'll do with what is proposed here. It's still quite decent, and will certainly carry its weight. Alright, that's it. So I think we've gone over everything, and what can I say? Oh yes, next time, so we will start the campaign, and it will be a peasant militia campaign, so that we have enough slots for everyone. And we'll be using a seed provided by Scale, which had a polearm build. And well, he found one with already many recruits fitting our builds there, so it will be well, good seed to start with. All right. Well, I'll see you soon there, and bye.